This is such a privilege to be here. I've been stopping in at this club for a couple of times since this past year, and it really feels good to be here. So I'm excited to be back up at the lectern. It's been 13 years since I've given a speech, and I'm excited to do my icebreaker again. My first icebreaker was in 1998. So picture 1998. I am standing at my job. I've been there for 7 years, and my boss says, Megan, I want to see you in my office. I'm not really sure what's going on, so I gingerly step into the office, and he says, please have a seat. He says, you've been here for 7 years, you know the business inside and out. I really, really like how you service our clients. I was in the computer graphics world in DC. I really like how you interact with our clients, and I like how you have an attention to detail. Have you ever thought about becoming an outside sales rep? In the back of my head, I said yes, I would love to do that. In my demeanor, I was having a meltdown because I'm generally a very closed, sort of meek personality. This was back then. Now I'm quite different, but back then, the idea of presenting myself to a cold call or walking into a business terrified me. But I knew it would be a disadvantage if I were to say no. So I said, yes, let's do this. I'm sure you'll train me, right? Which I didn't get any training. So it was a lesson in hard knocks, but it was something that changed my life. This was 1998. So I'm on the train, heading home. And I'm leaning back against the brick pillars at the train station. And there's a bulletin board here. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm getting ready to go into outside sales. I can't believe this is happening to me. And I see a bunch of flyers of activities that are happening in the area, and one of them is Toastmasters. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. What timing is this? So I pull the flyer off, and I'm reading it. And it says, we help you learn to speak more clearly, more confidently, and with ease. You'll become a better listener. I thought, this is exactly what I need for my new job. I'm so excited. And I'm also petrified to walk into a room with strangers. Petrified. So the Toastmasters meeting was at NIH, National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. Big campus, a bit intimidating for me. So I decided I'm going to do this. I have to do this. I've got to get over this fear. So I walk in to my very first meeting, tall ceilings like this, conference room table that feels to me like 10 miles long with these giant leather chairs. And the first person to greet me was the Vice President of Education. He stuck out his hand and he said, welcome. And he made me feel so at home, I'll never forget him. I sat at the chair at the very end of that long conference room table and just watched the whole evening. And I was impressed that every single person who walked into that room came up and introduced themselves to me. And I felt so at home and so supported. So that changed my life. That was 1998. No codes?
Not yet.
Okay, sorry, I was looking for the green card. I decided to do a table topic about 2 months into showing up every 2 weeks, and I literally was shaking to the point where I thought I was going to be sick to my stomach. And that passed, and I figured out how to breathe and how to get through all that. And then I decided to sign up for my icebreaker right after that. And I literally got up to the front of the room, and I had to do one of these. I said, folks, I'm sorry, this is what I have to do, or I'm going to literally be sick to my stomach. So I did this a few times to get all the nerves out, and I remember looking around the room and everyone was smiling and said, it's all right, you'll be fine, you'll be just fine. And I got up there after a few troubles, I worked it out, and it was the best experience, and I got addicted to it. So I went through my CTM manual, every opportunity I could, I spoke. That club really changed my life. So then I translated what I learned into outside sales, and it did take me a while to really knock on a door and say, hey, I'm Megan, nice to meet you. But I got more and more and more comfortable, as every time I did a speech, I felt good out in my job. So I did that job for a year, and I look back and think, you're right, that flyer that was on here It was true. I learned to communicate clearly, think clearly, and listen. And I did great in outside sales. Madam Toastmaster.